Hmm, This is good morning. Might be yeah. Whew. All right. You can hide the banner now. So good morning. I'm a little interested in what price is doing right now. We had a little bit of an odd morning. Before I talk about the Nasdaq, uh, mainly I want to talk about JPY. There was a nice delivery on it, so I just kind of want to record my thoughts on that. So this was the previous evening. I was doing analysis on JPY, and essentially in my sort of journal. I first said I was watching 50% of previous day range, which is the around that. Well, it's more like the high here down to this low. I was using the high point there that was made off of breaker. So, if you have on the hourly chart, 4 hour chart is better. You've got a sweep up here, and you have this new new week opening gap, which price gets underneath, finds resistance at inside the breaker. So I'll actually send to the back and reduce the middle line. Anyways, so this breaker here, high, low, higher, high. I'm using the last two candles. Price gets into it and runs lower. I can actually use the bottom candle here instead. And so then it runs lower down towards this low to continue sort of deteriorating uh, Japanese yen. So it was not hard to understand that bias. I mean, almost every day is a sell day for Japan because their currency is deteriorating. Anyways, so here we have the opening at 1800. So I wasn't looking for too much retracement. What I said was it'd be preferable. It'd be better if she doesn't retrace at all. It doesn't retrace much. So I was looking at this gap and the premium level of 50% there. Yeah, it's basically no retracement. would have been still acceptable. So, and if you look at the dealing range from the high it took sell side, below it took sell side to the high, you see it gets to about near around 50% there in the evening. So, anyways, you go down to a lower time frame, and so Asia opened up, hunted lower beneath these lows. That's kind of key that it traded beneath these lows. So let me take that off the hours. Right, so we've swept the lows, it's sell side, and we've kind of consolidated in the afternoon. So there's liquidity below here and up here, and so price quickly delivered up these highs. And one thing in the Asia session, this is Japan, so it moved a little bit more, but it always starts to move well 9, 10. That's like the kill zone. I've sort of noticed. I've been studying that quite a little bit, and that was the whole idea. I wanted to see how 9, 10 would react. So retracements did start. I was at work, so a little late. Wasn't able to, see it as it was forming. But once we did come down to, it was this low here, right? This sell side liquidity. This was posted at, no, wait a minute. This was posted at 7:30. So at 7, when we did come down to these lows, sweep the liquidity, and then we started a reversal, breaking it down to the 50-minute chart. You see the long wick that's created and left, and then breakaway gaps are also left. On the 5-minute chart, you have your breaker, low, high, lower, low. Now, admittedly, this is going to look a lot better on USD JPY or JPY USD, but this is the future. So low, high, lower, low, and quick delivery higher. And you can do on to the 1-minute chart. This is my model here, where essentially I would just take after this sweep inverse fair value gap. So, I'd be looking on USD JPY here. And so you see this gets inversed. So it could be a buy there, stop loss down here, and then you hold until this high. And at this point is where I either wanted to see it continue with displacement or it would roll over and then start to seek lower, and I'd look for shorts. And that was essentially the analysis on JPY. This morning, I'm allowing a new high of the day for the Nasdaq, but I want to see sells down to the sell side liquidity. So reason why is first I look at the daily chart, and we've opened up Monday kind of going up and down. And maybe I should actually note that on my journal. Just add that picture in there. Anyway, so we have buy side, which was taken here an all-time high, and then we had a sort of an inside day. Friday was consolidated. We had both sides of that sweep, so price is now kind of free. And the best thing I can do is if I see it, obviously the up the price action higher has stopped. Maybe it's because they need to create more liquidity to keep pushing it up. So retracement's very possible, and therefore I'll watch this gap, mainly the previous day low. After the previous day low, I wouldn't be looking to do anything. But this is what I'm allowing for. I'm not really looking for it to go higher just because it's kind of slowed down. I think it needs to seek discount. In the previous 3 days, we've only really been going up, or previous, 20 days, and back to 40 and 60. So there's lots to look back lower for price action. It's not showing that it wants to continue going with speed and displacements, obviously consolidating a little bit, which could signify a small retracement or some idea of discount to be taken. So that's why I'm looking at the previous day low. And tomorrow we do have CPI, so CPI could serve as a reversal and push price higher. So anyways, about 19 minutes away from the open. And My midnight opens there. Sells, I'd like to look for them above the midnight open. So if price can get back above the midnight open, I would love to look for sells. Oh, in that condition. But I see that really price has kind of bounced out quite a little bit, and it's gone into this rejection block and then new week opening gap. And so I don't really see there's I can certainly make the case that it won't go back up here, and it will 9:30 might open up and deliver it lower. That is possible. It doesn't have to do a Judas swing higher here because it doesn't need to. What bothers me is this sort of move down in London. We kind of went steep lower and then sharply just stopped and started retracing, back into the, I guess, the consolidation overnight. And so I know there's a lot of liquidity at the highs, but if let's say I want to look for shorts, it becomes harder because there's less liquidity at these lows since we've already stabbed down here. And we've shown that we really resisted the highs. I believe there's a large buildup of orders, so it's just a little scary looking for shorts because of that large buildup of the orders. We're getting good movement down too, which could be, oh no, this is not what I want to do. Which could be potential good shorts. I like the way price is closing underneath these candles for lower prices. I mean, we'll see what happens at 9:30, but until then, I'm going to probably mute. Oh, I got some comments. Yo, what's up? Fancy seeing you online. Yeah, I'm trying to stream more. It's easier to record things that way than keep them on my computer, so I can look at them later. That was basically my analysis. I got that out of the way, so I have that, and I'm gonna mute until until price starts to do something more interesting that would lead me to want to comment on it, I guess. Well, actually, I can also look at the other markets. The S&P and Nasdaq side by side. Sort of like doing the same thing. It's good. And the Dow, which is something that I really found weird this morning, just absolutely spiked up, and I don't even think it was news. I don't know why I did that. Yeah, I have no idea why, but it did. So very, very weird indeed. That makes me a bit uncomfortable. Uh, you know, trading while the Dow's doing this, especially if I'm trying to go long and the Dow's leading long, it's very uncomfortable. Gold is recovering, dollars still pressing higher. There's no indication that this is going to stop. Yes, anyway. All right, see you then. I'm back. 9:30 just opened up. I guess what I want to see here is if a Judas swing will play out. Um, that's what I'm waiting to see. So I don't know why that's not anchored properly. It is. I don't know why it looks so weird on the 5 minute. So I don't think I'd like to see displacement lower and sort of get down to 50% of like this range here from the 6 a.m. low to here. I don't think I'd want to really dig into this if we're gonna go higher, just because it'd be a lot of retracements. If we have this consolidation here, a build up of orders there. I feel like I don't know if we're gonna take it, it would be Judas swing higher because my bias is lower. So if we go lower, I don't know if I'd be interested in trying to trade anything because it could just displace lower and never come back up here, sweep this liquidity. Certainly is possible. So probably just assume that it's going to not come back up and just continue going lower here. Dow is also trading higher. So, whenever this happens, very uncomfortable because there seems to maybe be some SMT. Just because the Dow is usually following the Nasdaq. So Nasdaq eventually is probably going to pull the Dow lower, in my opinion. You still sharp for shorts? Yeah, essentially, I'm still looking for shorts. I don't like longs this morning. I just don't like them. Unless it goes up for a Judas swing here. Did not dig in too much to this range. And it just kind of wick down here. Then that's okay. Yeah, so the Dow is still going higher. We left a large wick. So we could see a run higher here. Damn, a wounded veteran wrote ICT asking for some money. I think a big check will come out of his pocket. That's sad. Yeah, happy Remembrance Day. Or at least in Canada, it's Remembrance Day. I think it is also in the United States. Uh, but to those that religiously celebrate Memorial Day, or not Veterans Day, Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day. It sucks that people had to give their life for these things. The wars and stuff. I disagree with it, but what can I do? Can only acknowledge them. Mm. I don't think any war is, because I mean, every war you want the support, you want political support, you want it to be politically correct, and they always try and pin. I learned this in playing video games. They always try and pin, the enemy against each other. The people who are in the wars. They try and like say, oh no, they're the bad guys, and these are the bad guys. And I mean, when I was playing Fallout 76, I remember when I was a kid seeing like the little robots, the Chinese robots in the video game, and they had propaganda flyers when you killed them. I basically said a bunch of bad stuff about Americans, in the video games, and then the Americans are doing the same thing, the Chinese, talking about how they're communism and they're terrible, and if you see a communist, you have to shoot him. He's a terrible person. So, you don't have the right to be a communist, and consider how the other person is. And then I remember in high school they showed us a movie where during World War II, World War One, there's a group of soldiers actually played a game of soccer together, um, on New Year's because they decided to stop fighting. It was New Year's Eve, and they decided to take a break from fighting and killing each other, and they ended up playing soccer. Uh, and the next day, they didn't want to keep fighting because they realized that the other side they were shooting at is essentially just as human as they were, and so they lost all interest to try and fight them. So I mean, when you have wars that you're fighting, all it really is you're fighting for your government that tells you to go fight, oftentimes for reasons that you don't agree with. And yeah, World War II is an exception. Mm, I don't know. I mean, yeah, World War II kind of had Hitler did go crazy. Hitler, this guy basically took over France. Also, we have like a little sweep here. I think World War II too allowed the Jews to kind of get their own home, their own sort of spot where they were like safe in their own country. So maybe, I don't know, maybe there that could have been a reason to allow the Jews to be displaced and get their own country. But I mean, I don't know. Hitler did go crazy in World War II. So in this sweep now, if we can inverse some of these gaps, that would be nice. There's an ore block here, potentially it could be used as resistance. Um, on the 15 should be down here on that 15-minute chart. We've right up above the high, so we're kind of taking some liquidity. There's this high here we could go back and hit. Don't have to. Again, we are above minute open. We can just leave this area to build up more liquidity, and CPI could come and clean it up tomorrow. It's always a possibility. But I think actually even World War II, like every war, World War II, Hitler did not just go to war because he wanted to take over the world. I mean, after World War One, the Germans were like they couldn't have a number. They were limited how many tanks they could have. Same thing with weapons. I mean, the country was severely hurt by the war, um, but also after the war. I mean, there were so many restrictions, and essentially the science, a lot of the tech that they had were also stolen, and they had like these limits on them, essentially, uh, being almost kind of like if you put a resistor in a circuit, the Germans were like hurt by this, and I think Hitler, I remember he kind of like had a problem with it, and I think the Germans kind of secretly trained people to start to retaliate against that and to do something about that. And then this is when then Hitler started to take over the world and show the power of the Germans. But my point is that like there was definitely some motive political support to Hitler, doing that because of essentially all it really comes down to is power and control. I mean, if somebody wanted power over the Germans, had power over the Germans, and Germans decided to retaliate and then decided to try and get power back. I think that's a lot of what World War II is about. It's and then yeah, especially today, it's very obvious today because today, like nobody wants to go up against the United States in a war. Um, and yet, people still have to because the United States. I mean, I'm mainly talking about Ukraine and Israel Palestine. There's a lot of other wars like in Africa that I'm not too familiar with, and I think even in South America. But I don't know. In my opinion, the United States is taking over the world, creating a bunch of wars in order to fuel their goals. I do like the Fair Valley Gap there. I'm willing to take that if I'm given the opportunity. To this gap right here. Mm, how do I do a limit? 216.50. Oh, there's MNQ. Oops. Nice. Hmm. Let's see what happens here. No, I often talk about in my baby food model where it's just like negative RR, basically like 12.5 point stop, 15 point stop, and then just like a 12.5 take profit. Or I'm thinking of doing either 15 or 20, but I don't want to move into that yet. Like I want to get a couple more accounts and you know get out of this drawdown before that, before actually switching to that. Baby food tastes good. Yeah. No, the thing I like about baby food is just so it's just like when you lose it sucks, but you're gonna win most of the time. And so it's just so much easier for the mental. But like once you actually take some time to like through the weekend, over the weekend I realized that the losses last week, it's just if I go to baby food now, I'm messing up the RR. And if I just get one nice trade, like 40 points at least, I'm back in profit and I made up all the losses. And it's not hard for me to do that. But when you're losing in the moment, I feel like it is hard and it is impossible. And I want to go to baby food because it makes me feel safer and comfortable, which is not a bad thing. And I guess because it causes a lot less emotional stress, which is why it's attractive and why I wanted, use that model instead of this. But one day, I think if I have like a large account and like 15 points can make me lots of money, I definitely want to, or multiple accounts and copy trading it. I think it's, when I get busier with school and stuff, and I can't always be on the charts, um, then I think that's something I want to do, and just get on the chart and like be done in 30 minutes, not have to do much back testing and waiting and analysis, and planning. I don't care if there's news the next day or whatever. It's just or like before. It's just a simple 15 points, which can happen easily. That's what I'd be worried about here is just sort of like maybe a breaker there, low, high, lower, low, and so this sweep, which didn't completely sweep all the sell side, but still was a sweep. With the move up, might be using, the might be selling the idea that there's a breaker here, but also with the buy side liquidity being taken, right, and not displaced above, but just rejected, it kind of gives the idea that we've already done everything we need to do higher. And so with these relative equal lows, I want to see if we can target that a little bit more. And so like, yeah, baby food here would have worked. I mean, 15 points, I would have been done by now. And I could have really closed the charts before 10. And like, I know how that feels like because I used to trade baby food every day. And that is an amazing feeling. So like, it is definitely something I want to still do. It's just that right now, if I stop trading the way I was trading and I started doing baby food, I first have to work my way out of drawdown, and it's just it would be with one account because my other account is close to because I had taken a payout on it. It's a little closer to being basically blown or taken away, and so I'm in a basically tough spot right now. I don't want to change too much. I want to wait until a better time, which would be next year. And so that's the decision that I'll make next year, probably. And when you can increase R over time, it's actually really good. Yeah, like I know I can get higher R. I know I can find plays that will allow me to get, 2, 3, 4 R. And if I get 3 losses in a row, then I get a 4R. It's worth it. If I get 4R, like I'll make profit. It might suck, those 3 losses, but I know it'll work. And I mean, I'm willing to take that risk, and to go through that, mental struggle if it means that I'm gonna be able to make more money faster um, as of now because I'm really trying to build, right? So yeah, I really don't like this here. I'm hesitant on cutting the trade because there is an order block up here and we're still in the inverse fair value gap, and these bodies might still hold the gap, but it's very tough right now to. I mean, it's only 20 ticks a drawdown, so it's not that much, but you know, still kind of sucks to see that it's not really moving very quickly, and to know that I could have been done, you know, kind of sucks. See if the order block is what the level was to resist price. Dow is dropping too, huh? So that. Yeah, the Dow is dropping. What the heck? Oh my god. This is some messed up stuff. I think I probably got stopped here. No. Oh yeah, here I did. Hmm. That stings. Like these markets, this is not normal. What the Dow is doing. I'm at my yeah. So the account is basically locked out because I'm like $8 away. But that is not very normal. We're in a cluster of new day open gap new. Yeah, yeah. But I like waiting for news is good, but it's like I also want to try and get as many opportunities as I can get. And like today was good because today kind of like showed me if I just had my baby food model, like this would have been amazing. This would have been perfect. It's a nice 15 points. That gives me more data, and I think I've seen many news that actually end up delivering pretty well. Or sorry, many days ahead of news that end up delivering pretty well. Even though like there's news and stuff, it has never really scared me too much. In the beginning, I was just a little careful, but I mean, I don't know, because there is still news this morning. There's a speech from one of the Fed members that does cause movement, and like the chart does look pretty good. Like I can frame cells pretty nicely. It's just that what Dow is doing is, and I think it has to do with the bigger sort of picture with what's going on geopolitically too. But yeah, I mean, it's not obviously not moving the best in terms of like overall, market. And see if it's gonna drop here after coming up this high one more time and inverse this gap. Maybe not. Doesn't really look like it. If it starts to get up above these candles, no, I wouldn't think so. We already got above this candle right here, and it's about to get up above. Yeah, unless it's just reaching into the rejection block. Could have just been reaching. So like at least it's closing beneath the bodies, which is good. We haven't invalidated any bodies, but I don't know. Is the Dow still going lower? So my Express is now down 300. That's okay. It's like I don't really want to start baby food now because I know like the next trade will just be break even, and then if I lose, it's even worse. When I could just find a 60-point trade and you know I don't know what I'll do. Dow is still going lower. That's crazy. Mm, yeah, this is not good. But anyways, we have taken out the high up here. Or no, not yet. Once we do take out the high up here, then maybe that's when we'll see better price action. It's not bad. I might take it. I might try taking one more trade on the account just because this is pretty attractive. But we did not inverse the gap yet. The speech is starting now at 10 for the Fed member. Doesn't really look like it's gonna go lower. fortunately. I always forget to stop the recording. This was a 1 minute gap. Hmm. We've reversed this gap, which is good. All right, well, I did short that gap up there. I just didn't want to talk about it because I don't know, but I would have talked about it if, whether it worked or not afterwards. But that was a lot more comfortable, just taking it with in the back of my mind knowing that no one knows, right? It was more comfortable. But essentially, we came up above the buy side liquidity. Should mention that might not only might only run once it takes the high of the day, and then after that there was a better 5 minute short term high and breaker. So short term high there, move lower, manipulation, expansion lower. And I was confident taking it because it's happened to me so many times where I try and short too early. Where did I try and short? It was back here, right? No. Yeah, it was right there. I tried and short a little too early, got manipulated, and it's very frustrating when I recognize that and then I see it actually ends up working. Yeah, I did re-enter. So I had another tab open secretly. But yeah, this is I made $600 on from that gap there to here, and then I still have a short going on this one, on the micros. This is the other account that had taken a payout on. That one I'm just gonna hold, probably until this low. That's where I was planning on initially holding it. This low right there. If not, I could sell one. No, probably. I don't know if I'll cut the whole thing. Maybe. We'll see when it gets there. Anyways, yeah, like I guess the reason a baby food would have been so nice is that when why isn't it? Oh, it's in queue. Okay, when I took this short here, you know, and this has happened to me many times where I short a little too early before the manipulation. Like I'm always right on the bias, but I short a little bit too early ahead of the actual manipulation. Maybe I thought this was the manipulation, but no. And like, this is a much, much better breaker here because it's actually up into the range instead at the low end of the range here where my take profit is. The low of the breaker is basically where I'd start to think about getting out and or taking partials. And so um yeah, so I mean like I think a lot of people have that problem. Like, oh, it's like I see a lot of traders struggling with that. I've been asked that question many times. Like, oh, I always get in too early and I get stopped out. And so, what do I do? And but hold on, let me see if I should take one off. Maybe like a limit stop. Maybe. No, whatever. That's fine. Actually, no. I feel like it's a little stupid to hold it. I know I can. My bias is lower. I just want to trust my bias. I'm more comfortable holding this because it's an account I can throw away. And yeah, this is 9:30 open. I was trying to just do one micro positions, and then I went short. No, I closed the position here, put the short on, close again, put it back on. This is me trying to short throughout this entire area, and then I longed here and sold it early because I wanted to wait. But I'll probably just have a break even stop, and that's it. Or like maybe this. Yeah, this is bad habits. So make sure not to do that. I don't even remember what happened. Actually, 213. So long at 213. Close at 219. So I think oh no, I tried to short first and then I closed it and longed, took profit up here. And it looks like I tried to short up here. It worked, came back on me, stopped out, and then I shorted, stopped out, I had a tight stop, then went back into the short, and then from up here, and then been holding it. So I want this gap to hold though, and not get filled. And that's why I moved my stop down there because it should stay open if price is going to continue to expand down to these lows and then that low. Only my target is the previous day low, which isn't this one. It's the one even lower. This one here. That's my target for today. And if that's the case, I want to leave some breakaway gaps, and that's why my stop is down here. It looks like it's not going to. And okay, so we're basically break even for the day. That's okay. And I don't care about this account anymore. But you know, But anyways, yeah, so this one basically up 300, yeah, 280. So still in drawdown from the equity high, but you say Neko says, I personally think it's waiting for news. ICT harped on the importance of news in his recent X space. Yeah, I mean, I think most of the time news does impact. But sometimes, like there was news this morning, is what I'm saying. You know, there's a Fed Waller speech, and then there's a Barkin speech. So because of this, I know that price is probably going to move, and I mean I've also seen great days where price sets up very nicely for CPI. Um, and because I guess the rate cuts already happened last week. I believe it was last week. I don't know if there's as much importance on the CPI too. So I don't know if I see something, if I'm able to analyze something and I see that it's likely going to work out in my favor because my analysis is showing me that it's likely to do that, then I'm gonna take a trade. Like today, over here, I knew that we would likely 930 would aim for that buy side up here, or maybe not this one, but this high or that high, or some sort of premium above midnight open, unless 930 opened up and just went lower right away. So I waited for premium price, a sweep. There was a sweep here, and then created a fair value gap there, and that would have been proper after the sweep, the complete sweep, a 5 minute short term high, and then that would have been a nice trade. Could have done this is low hanging fruit, and that's like 50 points right there, and it's probably still gonna work. I just decided to cut it because I had been holding on to it enough. But yeah, so anyways, you see this is not a bad trade. And then, even if I had back here, I thought this was the sweep, and I had taken this trade down here. If I just had a small 15-point profit, I would have been able to profit this, see what I did wrong, and had another opportunity to take another trade or to wait and be patient for the next one next time, right? So, I guess like I still gained insight from trading today, and like there's still a play that I see is pretty clear, even though the Dow is not lining up with it and is creating a lot of retracements. It's certainly not the best environment to trade in. Um, but I'm gonna trade either way because it is my model, and it did work quite nicely. Maybe I know I shouldn't have taken all the stupid trades on the other account. This one, like this is pointless. Um, it's with the micros, but you know, like this was on this account. No, not the micros. Like I'm proud of my performance on this account, and yeah. But because there's also people that trade primarily that they perform the best in consolidations and before news, and it's like the environment. So like me, I just look at the price. Like the way I look at it is the days before news, I'm careful. If I get up and I see that London session create a large expansion, and liquidity previous day high or low has been swept, and I can't really determine what it's going to do. Maybe it's trended, and there's just not really like we're not really in a good spot to frame premium to discount or discount the premium. Then I won't do anything. Obviously, I'm gonna skip it. But here we're kind of consolidating. We built up liquidity. I can see that there's buy side up here. That once we grab buy side, we're likely to go in the other direction and run down to a discount. And so it might be a lot harder for it to do so. Like it might retrace often, and it certainly is retracing quite a little bit. after we get down to that low, it retraces, and it might even continue making more highs before it actually goes lower, like maybe during lunchtime. But at least, it's still kind of the idea of what it should do is still able to be analyzed and recognized, um, you know, through my analysis at least, and so that's what makes me comfortable, trading, because I can lean on my analysis and be more comfortable and confident that the trade I take is likely to work out, in, well, maybe not most of the time headed news, but yeah, because I did a mistake. Um, but if I had not done the mistake today, there would have been a pretty good day. Anyways, that's it for today. I am planning on going to play basketball, so I probably won't trade tomorrow because I don't like trading after CPI most of the time. When CPI comes out, it just kind of like, unless it doesn't leave a big range, I just don't feel as comfortable trading it. So because of this, I probably will. It depends how CPI comes out tomorrow. Like maybe if I look at previous CPIs, actually, it's a good exercise to do. If I look at previous CPIs, like in, I don't know, go to May. I don't think I showed the economic calendar. Oh, there's news here actually. What is that? Oh, this is probably CPI day. Well, I mean, you get the idea at least. Well, no, this is FOMC. No, Friday was not it. Maybe it was Thursday. Well, I can use FOMC at least maybe, but no, let's see NFP. NFP might have. No, no, it's not a good example. Let me go to the more recent, let me go to the more recent months where I actually have the economic calendar, like August. We didn't have CPI there. CPI, that's PPI, no CPI here. Thanks, Nico. Have a good day. Wait, CPI on Wednesday. Yeah, finish off this idea. Like whenever I see CPI do some, like, this isn't bad because it didn't really go anywhere. It just kind of went up and down, and then price was still able to deliver from premium to discount. But sometimes CPI will shoot off in one direction, and it's going to. This is a really nice day actually, but it's going to like maybe like open up and it's going to shoot down all the way down here like 200 points, 300 points, 400 points move, and I see that in 400 points, and it's kind of like a trend, trading after a trend, a session that just trended. I don't really want to do that, and so you know, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable trading after a very large range. I'm sure there's better examples, but I just don't want to look through every single. I have time, but I don't have to leave for basketball anytime soon. I mean, I don't know. think this is probably CPI. Okay. So CPI drew above all the relative equal highs, cleaned them up, and rejected lower aggressively towards sell-side liquidity. So CPI. Okay, this is a perfect example actually. I believe this is 8:30. Let me get a closer look. Regular trading hours. Oh wait, what? This is terrible. Look at this. This is the 9:30 open to the end of the day. Imagine trying to trade this. And this was after CPI. So even though like CPI came out and you know we had way like you see the previous day, which day would you rather trade? This day or the one before it? Obviously the one before it moved a little bit more. It might not have been the best. I mean 9:30 did make a nice move lower. You could have traded ahead of 9:30 and captured that move, maybe, or you could have gotten a reversal if you timed it properly. You could have also gotten an afternoon, probably earnings or I don't know, last hour move higher, right? And this would have been even more ahead of CPI because it would have been in the afternoon. My point is that it's not always that CPI comes out and then price action is nice. Usually the following days, yes, like the next day, probably this is really good actually. After the CPI did like a what 400-point move lower, price didn't do shit, and then the next day was really nice. So yeah, like I do want to wait till Thursday, and most of the time when there's CPI, it does something like this, in my opinion, where it's just better to just try and not trade after that, after those types of things. I'm sure there's some NFPs you can get some better examples too, like this NFP that will probably, well, we'll see. See, like this NFP isn't bad because what happens is it just quickly goes down to a discount. It doesn't really go anywhere from where the report released. And so price can continue. It just swept all this liquidity and then price continues to go higher. It retraces and then goes higher. So you can frame from discount to premium using this. Pretend like this wick never happened because it's wicks. Wicks do the damage. Price bodies do tell the story. So pretend like this was not there. All price really did here is 9:30 opened up, price retraced down to a discount from the low here to the high up there, and then it just continued to run higher. Right, this is not bad. But then when you have a CPI that moves like 400 points, you don't really want to trade after that, right? So yeah, like after news is good, but not always, and sometimes it's better in some cases if you just try and trade ahead of the news. If you can at least frame it, like that's the important things. I don't just trade ahead of the news because I didn't necessarily want to trade. I didn't trade yesterday. Um, wait, I didn't trade yesterday, right? I just want to make sure I didn't trade yesterday. Yeah, I didn't trade yesterday at all because I mean it was Monday and there was no news. There was absolutely no news, and there was nothing I could frame. Like when and that's the thing is that even though there was no news, I at least tried to frame something, and I actually looked at USD JPY a little bit more too, which was pretty nice. But no, sorry, this week. No, wrong week. This week, Monday. So I at least, broke down the day and I actually tried to come into Monday framing something, but I literally couldn't. When 9:30 opened up and went lower, I said it was done. Like the move lower that I was looking for happened, and there's nothing else to do on Monday because I was short. We had taken buy side liquidity. We had been into a premium, and we were starting to deliver to a discount. And 9:30 delivered the discount. So after that, there's nothing else for me to do. I had to close the chart. Right? But if there's a day where it's still ahead of news and I can frame something, then I would be willing to still do it and to try it, because I mean, if I can frame it, if I can make money off of it, and I can trust it and be confident in it, then I'm gonna take it. It's that simple. No matter unless it's right ahead of news and the news can take me out of my trade, then I won't do it. But um, you know, that's just how I look at it. I guess from all the data I gathered this year. But yeah, that's that's it. So probably will end the stream now. Um, Good luck to anyone trading today. Hopefully, there's still some shorts to be caught, and stay safe.